Call to order, Town of North Branford, Town Council meeting, North Branford, Connecticut, Tuesday, June 20th, 2023 at 7:05 p.m. We'll start with a salute to the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight, all. All right, we'll start with a roll call, please.
Mayor McMillan.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Zampano.
Here.
Councilor Abelson.
Here.
Councilor Angeloni.
Here.
Councilor Diamond. Here. Councilor Goode.
Here.
Councilor Mace. Councilor Palladino.
Here.
And Councilor Palicia.
Here.
On to item 2, minutes of the previous meeting, A, June 6, 2023, WPCA and Town Council meeting. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Diamond. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you.
Abstain.
Thank you, Rose.
I abstained.
Oh, you noticed that both Rose and Bruce has abstained, being not at the last meeting. Thank you both. Okay, and on to the regular town council meeting. Item 3, community events and presentations. We have some exciting presentations tonight from our friends at the Girl Scouts. So we're excited to start with item A, presentation from Girl Scouts Juliana Casano and Fiona Wood on their Bronze Award pollinator gardens. Hi girls, how we doing today? Good, I'm excited to see this.
I could use that.
Okay. Oh, wow, okay. Now let's make sure we let the public see too. We'll get it on camera there. Thank you, Miss Vicky, appreciate that. Okay. All right, girls, it's up to you.
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is Fiona Wood.
And my name is Juliana.
And we are here for the Bronze Award. What is the Bronze Award?
The Bronze Award is the highest award that a junior Girl Scout can get. Pollinators are a big help. If we didn't have pollinators, we wouldn't have fruits or vegetables.
Way to help pollinators is by not killing bees, planting trumpet-shaped flowers. And we would like to ask if we can plant So what we've done for this award, we planted pollinator in at our school, and we planted it at our house, or my house.
That's great. Okay,
And then we would like to ask if we can plant some pollinators here at Town Council.
I think that would be fine. We could certainly find a spot for you. I'll leave that to both Rory as Assistant Town Manager and Mr. Michael Downs as Town Manager to let you know where it's best, but I think we can certainly find a spot or two for that.
And we want to thank people who helped us, DeFrancisco Farm and Nancy Tipping, who's over here.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you very much for helping with that. That's great. And the DeFrancisco's as well, DeFrancisco's Farm. Okay, let's...
Sorry, what was the last name, Nancy?
Oh, it's Tipping.
Tipping, over. Got it, yes.
Yeah. All right, you did a great job of presenting this. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your presentation here?
Do you want to show them anything on the board? Point it out.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome to come up and grab the board or talk about
Did you
anything.
guys get a badge or anything for this?
We will.
You will?
Oh, wow.
Things that some bugs that are attracted to.
Uh-huh.
Milkweeds are from monarchs, birds of colorful large flowers, and bugs are attracted to leaves and moths, and honeybees are sunflowers.
Oh, wow. We have a lot of sunflowers in this town, right? That's kind of our thing. All right, well, that's great. Well, we very much appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and we think you've done a great job. And I think I speak for the entire council that we're happy you're here tonight, and we hope you get your award, and we certainly think you deserve it.
Thank you for doing
Thank
it.
you.
Get a picture with Nancy and the
So
two girls.
important.
Yeah, let's get a picture.
Girls, did you tell them how many hours you need to put in for additional work to earn this award?
30.
30 hours. Wow. That's more than most people are working these days. Problem.
Also, pollinator birds have to support pollinators through
That's right. You went throughout our winters, right? That's right. That's great. Okay. Do you want any of us to come out or?
It's up to you, Mr.
All right.
Mayor.
Hold on.
I think
Go ahead.
he came out and joined.
Let's do that. Come on.
Get in there. Go ahead.
Guys, feel free to jump in.
No, it's okay. You'll cover us.
So girls, have the pollinators been working? Has there been butterflies and bees going around and doing stuff, or?
Do you remember?
Haven't seen him yet?
What we had? Do
Um,
you remember the video?
there was a butterfly we saw.
So it's working.
Open it up, thanks.
That, okay. We definitely does that. Okay. Over here?
Sure.
Here we are.
Nancy, get in the middle. There you go. Tom, get up there. Wow, beautiful. Ready on 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, this way. 1, 2. Beautiful.
Excellent job. Okay, well that's a tough act to follow. I think that's probably the best thing of the night. We've got another one coming up. We have item B, presentation from Girl Scout Cassidy Anderson on her Bronze Award and the sign placed in front of the Little Red Schoolhouse. So we'd love to hear more about that, please. Hi, Cassidy, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Hi, my name is Cassidy. I am 10 years old and live in North Branford. I'm a junior level Girl Scout working on my Bronze Award, and I am also homeschooled. I have been fundraising to help pay for a sign to put in front of the Little Red Schoolhouse in Northford. This all started because my family and I couldn't locate the Little Red Schoolhouse. We passed by the building a bunch of times but didn't see it. We even tried using the GPS address, but it led us to NatureWorks instead. It would be good for the community to learn about history and also nice because the people would know where it is. I began making knots and survival bracelets at my wilderness program 2 years ago. To help raise money for the Little Red Schoolhouse, I started creating jewelry and selling it at local craft and entrepreneurial fairs.
Wow.
I even made my own website and shipped to customers out of state, as far as Georgia. At this point, I sold over $350 worth of jewelry in my business. I'm going to donate my profits towards a sign for the Little Red Schoolhouse. Thank you for your time. I'm hoping that you could approve my request to put a sign in front of the Little Red Schoolhouse.
Cassidy, I think that's great. Wow, really well done. Great presentation. So first and foremost, the reason why when the GPS, when you put in the Little Red Schoolhouse, it gets you NatureWorks, because when the Little Red Schoolhouse was in functionality, that was location, the original location. You can read about that in the in the archives and in the library and such. I know your mom knows where that is. I know she's part of the board. So that's interesting that it was in there still with those coordinates. But yes, I think the idea for a sign is certainly something that we can work on. Again, another homework assignment for our assistant town manager, Rory, and town manager, Michael Downs, to help with the placement of that. And as I'm sure you're aware, I have a little girl that loves jewelry, so I would like to purchase some of that jewelry from you. So when we're done with the presentation, or you can have your mom choose one for Eloise, and I'd be happy to pay for that.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much. We look forward to you getting your award as well. You did a great job. Both, all the Girl Scouts. Want to do a picture real quick? Come up to a picture with us.
You gotta have a picture with him.
Charge him double, he's got.
Yeah, you can charge us twice.
much are the
Definitely.
Usually $10 to $12.
That's great pricing. Wow.
Charge him.
So we got people working. Do you have to do the hours as well?
Inflation.
That's great.
Special man pricing.
That's good.
It's $25 for the mayor.
Notice her shirt.
Yeah.
Is the website here? Yeah. Right here, right? She has her own.
There you go.
That's what she said.
You should run with it now.
I said marketing. Run with it. Marketing.
Oh, really?
Yes.
She was awesome. She didn't miss a beat speaking. Just rattled it out. I couldn't do that.
Yes.
Ready, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Beautiful.
Really? From
Do me a favor?
FRC.
There's 3 ladies.
It had to be 6.
And there's 2 up there. Here's
Yeah. I'm sure we had it too. We had my wife has every picture of everything. But I was.
Oh, she brought us with her.
I was getting back to go.
I already paid for it. Pick one up.
You know, so yeah. So when's her wedding? 2 weeks. Where's she? Wadsworth Mansion. So I was supposed to go into the city tonight to pick up candles. That got canceled, thank God.
Thank you,
Because I
Ron.
really didn't want to go to
We're
the city.
gonna,
Oh, you dropped it last one.
For what? Candles? For the wedding.
oh, we can pick out.
Are you kidding? This is, are you kidding? This is cool. This is actually the most fun we've ever had. Absolutely, Good job, girls. Good job. Because my daughter's a junior this year.
They're cool, aren't they?
Typing it. I see.
This is outstanding. Tough scanning work, too, really and truly. Thanks, Ron. You're a crocheter and macrameer.
You do Venmo? Does she do Venmo? By any chance, did you bring any Girl Scout cookies with you? You guys. I bought some from you. A lot.
This resolution.
Oh, hello, how are you?
Is that all she has left?
Good. Well, you're.
Cassidy.
You have, yes. How you doing?
Cassidy, is that all you have left?
Nice.
No, we have to do the under.
You're asking for other options.
Okay. All right. Thank you, girls. We appreciate it. Great job. Great job. Okay. I can cancel the meeting now. I think everything, that was
Yeah,
all
we're
we're
done.
gonna get. It doesn't get better than that. Yeah, it's going downhill from here. Turn off the camera, we're good. All right. Oh, no doubt about it. Okay, well, we're gonna go on to the other part of the meeting now, and unfortunately, we have to talk about our commissions and such. So we are gonna go on to item 4, reports of committees, boards, and commissions. Item A, Economic Development Commission.
Next meeting is July 10th.
Okay, thank you, sir. Item B, Parks and Recreation.
The next meeting is next Tuesday, the 27th.
Thank you very much. Item C, Police Commission.
Okay, now be patient with me. The meeting was just at 5 o'clock.
Well, you're not ready?
Oh, you're fresh.
Okay, I think one of the most important things is 2 of our officers, Officers Payne and Bernstein, received a life-saving award for helping an unresponsive person through their CPR. I think
That's so
we're very
easy.
fortunate that we have these police officers.
do you do Venmo?
Wonderful with helping folks. The other thing I think is important is we're now in the process of the accreditation with the state, and the on-site assessment will be on July 18th. So we'll see, hopefully things will work out with our police department. There was a lot of discussion about the building project and the issues with the towers, since we're gonna probably discuss that later on. I won't talk about that now. And I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that's great. All right, on to item D, Fire Commission. Please, sir.
Not too much to report on. There are some things to talk about. We have an executive session set up tonight for that purpose.
Okay. All right, thank you. On to item E, Planning and Zoning Commission.
I was not able to make the meeting.
Okay. And I do have in my packet.
What I do know is Bob Nowak was
Yes, I was gonna say that. Bob Nowak has been
the rep.
the rep for our Boom Pit Committee, so that's fantastic. Okay. And we'll go on to item G, Public Safety Communications Subcommittee.
How about F?
Oh, did I hit it? Oh, you're right, I checked that off. I was preemptive, trying to get that under. Okay, Finance Subcommittee on item F, thank you.
Finance Subcommittee
The one I'm on.
met last week. There's an item on our agenda later on. It's in regards to some language in the bonding for the communications, a change in that that deals with the police department. So we'll get to that. The other item that we discussed that I don't see on the agenda was the maintenance facilities account. Anthony wasn't able to pull that up, and that was going to be on the agenda for tonight, but we can do it at the July meeting, just so we don't forget about that. And then the other items are on the agenda later. It's just the financial report and appropriation transfers, so we'll get to that later. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay, now on to item G, Public Safety Communications Subcommittee.
Okay, some of the stuff I think people know, but just to refresh everyone, there have been some issues with both towers at Tilcon. There was going to be a change order for $78,000, which through the work of many folks, that's finally been eradicated. There's a need for putting in the, bringing up the electricity there and some conduits, et cetera. Victor's been working on that, and I think he's made a lot of success. There's also
So it's not a change order anymore?
That's not a change order anymore.
Okay, great.
It's the money that's been taken away. The other issue is at Homeland Towers, the Northford Tower. I think, as you all know, because it's in probate, there was a real issue about continuing any work there. Victor contacted the electric company, Wallingford Electric, and they are bringing in the transformer.
Okay.
Hopefully that will be set up, and then they'll be able, there's still a lot of work to do there, but I think that at least the ball is rolling now, because for a while there, it seemed like everything had stopped.
Yeah.
So there's a concern about still getting that ready by June. I don't think it'll be ready by June.
So we're not projecting into June at this point, because we're upon it right now, but maybe into July or August or something like that?
Hopefully.
I don't know.
The big issue is what
but-
happens with, it's the bank that's holding the mortgage
assets.
in terms of the being in probate. That's the issue, but hopefully that, I think our town attorney is working on that.
Yeah, the issue has to do with a subordination that the lender is looking. We've been discussing it with the bank, and we've stressed to them the importance of making this a top priority of getting this resolved, so they can run the utility line.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll look to hear more about that
Hopefully
as
that, yeah.
it comes up next meeting. I appreciate that. Okay, then final is item H, CIWWA.
And that meeting is next Wednesday, the 28th.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Rory, here comes your show. Number 5, Town Manager Report. A, general updates.
All right. North Branford's Flag Day event that was scheduled for last Wednesday was unfortunately canceled due to weather. The flags that are out for Honor Them with a Flag will be out until July 4th in front of Town Hall.
Okay.
Town employees are receiving training this week on Munis's employee self-service system. This represents a significant step forward. We will digitize and streamline essential operations, including time and attendance. We'll be gradually implementing additional modules in the coming months. The North Branford Libraries held a barn dance to kick off their summer reading program this past Saturday. I'm told it was well attended. The rain held off for most of the day, but unfortunately started just in time to catch those participating in the North Street Walk and Talk by surprise. The library's Sunflower Passport program has also begun. There are 8 sunflowers hidden in locations throughout town. Participants who find all 8 will be entered into the Summer Reading Prize raffle. The prizes include a ride to school on a fire truck, courtesy of the North Branford Fire Department, as well as POCO ride tickets and other prizes. Anyone interested in participating can visit the libraries or go to their website for more information. Town representatives met today with representatives of the Department of Transportation and their consultant FHI Studios to discuss a road safety audit at the intersections of routes 22 and 17 in Northford Center. The project will assess both state and local roads in that intersection, propose improvements, and identify some funding opportunities to address them.
Roy, can I ask a question, interject quickly? When you say the intersections of 17 and 22, would that be a little slightly, to use a landmark, slightly up the point where the Northford store is, where there's a lot of, we say a lot of accidents, it's difficult to come out in that area? Is that where they're looking, or just towards the gas station?
Just that intersection, it's the entire area, because there's a lot of local roads that also intersect right around.
And that little triangle that we rent from the church as well, correct?
Correct, yeah, so it's addressing that entire area.
Great, Okay, thank you. I know that's an area of concern, one of the bigger areas of concern in town where folks are worried about, there's been an increase in, accidents in that area. And then I believe there's another one up a little bit further near Woodhouse. Is that where we've heard a lot? But yeah, I'm glad that there's some areas that they're taking a look at. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll be doing an on-site walk with everyone tomorrow.
Okay, great. Yeah, please keep us apprised to those dates.
Absolutely.
We want to be part of that.
It's hoped that the recommendations will reduce the frequency and severity of motor vehicle accidents while helping to beautify the intersection and make it more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. Parks, Rec, and Senior will be hosting their annual senior picnic Thursday, June 29th from 5:30 to 7 at the Stanley T. Williams Community Center. The food served will be hot dogs, hamburgers, salad, watermelon, and dessert. It's free for residents over 55, $5 for non-residents, but registration closes Thursday the 22nd. Anybody who's interested can go to their website to register. The Recreation Summer Camp will begin Monday the 26th. The first week is at capacity. There's no more registrations available, which is a great sign. The staff are looking forward to a fun summer for the kids. And then this is stealing from a very nice email that Town Manager Downs put together. We're sad to announce that Patty Schaefer, our accounts payable clerk, has provided notice of her intention to retire August 4th. She's been with the Finance Department for 15 years, having started in 1992 with the Board of Education, where she managed the cafeteria at Stanley T. Williams before moving to the intermediate school. She joined the police department the year 2000, where she served as a dispatcher until 2008. She's lived in town for 20 years and raised her family here. We thank her for 31 years of service and wish her the best in retirement.
Appreciate that. Absolutely. Thank you for the time here in North Branford. That's certainly a lot of knowledge that will be leaving us, and we appreciate all the efforts that you just put forth with our North Branford. All right, thank you so much for that. On to item B, Permanent Project Building Committee.
At Stanley T. Williams, the roof is complete. Work on the fascia and caps is underway and is scheduled to be completed this week.
Okay.
At the police department, the site work is ongoing. The new driveway entrance for Public Works has been completed. A project budget is included in your packet this evening for review. At the high school, punch list work is ongoing. Items that will be completed during the summer punch list have been established, and the phase 2 demolition is underway. And at the intermediate school, the contract award process has begun.
Okay.
I have a question about the high school.
Go ahead.
At the Board of Education meeting last week during public session, it was discussed that people cannot make cell phone calls when they're in the high school. It was my understanding that the superintendent was going to bring that to the Permanent Project Building Committee. According to the people I've talked to, that was not the case. I think that's a serious issue. I did talk to Dave Palumbo today. He didn't know anything about it. He's already been investigating that, and I hope that I'd ask you to follow up on that.
Absolutely.
Because that is a serious security issue. It's also an issue in case if somebody has a problem within a classroom and they can't make the quick phone call, teacher can't call out. And I'm hearing that to make it work, to have one provider make it work is like going to be $250,000. So I think that's something that needs to be looked into, and soon. So I would ask you to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Marie, are you saying that they can't because it's not working?
They cannot make a phone call with a cell phone from the high school, and when they're inside the high school.
And that
So
was
cell phone service.
Cell phone.
the
It does
service
not work at
itself.
all in the school. It's not working at all.
People cannot make a cell phone call if they're inside the building.
Yeah, it's blocking the signal, you're saying.
I mean, that happens at TVS a lot too, and inside the Stanley T right now too. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
Well, I think it should be looked at.
Yeah, there's something that you have to probably have
So-
some type of.
When
Yeah.
the towers come online,
I don't think
are
it's
they
the
gonna put
towers,
any?
I think it's
Are the
providers.
cell companies gonna put on the tower?
I don't know. That's not
It
a.
sounds like
Something's blocking it in
Yeah.
the building. you
It's
know.
usually the structures, I mean, Anthony could probably speak to this a little bit too, just because of the work he's done with the radios and stuff, but
Yeah, I think we're hopeful that, to go to Councilor Ableton's point, that with this tower at Tilcon, potentially you could have carriers come on there that would cover
Right.
this area with greater coverage. I'm not sure if that's in the works or not, or where they are, but that might address that. Absent that, it kind of goes back to the same issue we talked about for the fire and police services, where there's that internal antenna that you would potentially install to get out and provide coverage for your police and fire communications. That the decision was made to table that until the building gets built to see if we really need it. If we do need it, it's going to be done after the fact at a much greater cost than if we had done it initially when the building was open and built. But it's probably the same situation where you're in a building, anytime you get inside of a building, whether it's here or fire, Honeywell, whatever it is, your radio signal diminishes drastically.
Yeah.
So in the case that Councilor Diamond's pointing out, I'm not surprised that cell phones are an issue. As Councilor Angelini mentioned too, Stanley T. Williams, the people inside, they go outside to make a cell phone call. So we really, there's avenues we could to explore that. Again, when that tower opens up in Norfolk Center, hopefully that will solve that problem for Stanley T. and Pawtucket Valley. But it's a matter of, will carriers be willing to invest and put equipment on those towers? It's outside of our control.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you could buy in-building units. We had an in-building unit here when we were with Verizon. They mounted an antenna inside here for us. That's another option to explore. But again, it's what carrier do you use? We were with Verizon at the time. That's why Verizon put an antenna here. But if you didn't have Verizon, you'd still be in the same boat. So
Yeah.
it's more of a universal problem.
But the antenna itself would cover all, essentially?
You probably need a couple on a building that size.
Yeah.
Floors. But again, if you were in a relation with a vendor, again, the town at the time was using Verizon. That's why they were, put the antenna here for us. But in the case of a school where you have 18 different vendors, who do you put an antenna in? You put a T-Mobile antenna in, or a Sprint, or who do you put in?
Yeah.
So you're kind of, it's just a function of the building, I believe. A lot of metal, a lot of block, hard to get signal through.
Makes sense. All right, that's something we can certainly look into, and I would
The other
suggest
thing
do
too that
so.
I'm curious to find out about with that is Wi-Fi. Because a lot of times you can turn your phone over to Wi-Fi calling if the new school has Wi-Fi in it. then
Correct.
It must have
You
one.
could use
Yeah.
that as well, so.
That makes sense. I absolutely agree with that.
But during
Okay.
SBAC times,
It's
and
something-
things, these are especially
What was the cost of that?
problematic.
We don't know. That's
Did you not say $250,000?
That's what Dave said to me when I,
It's not that.
Okay, we're gonna move on from that. We don't want to speculate. So we'll come back to that. We'll do some research and figure out what it can actually be and what some possible solutions could be as well. All right, any other questions before we move on from the building report? All right, moving on to item 6, citizen statements, petitions, and correspondence. Do we have any? Seeing none, moving on to resignations and appointments. I don't see any here, so we're gonna move on to unfinished business, discussion and action. Item A, discussion, creation of the 1831 committee. Update, as we already indicated, there have been several folks from different committees that have raised their hand to be part of this committee. And I believe on both the Northford and North Branford sides.
no, that's
Oh, wait,
the
you're right, I'm
blueprint.
thinking, my gosh, I read it wrong. Strike that, thank you.
This one just hold this
Busy week. Yeah, so we're just gonna hold this here for the 1831 as a holdover. Okay, good enough. Item,
Mr. Mayor, before we move on, I would just like to make a motion to amend the agenda.
Please.
To add item 9H, account clerk 1, job description modifications.
put it in there correctly.
I'll second that.
Account clerk 1. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for doing so.
I think you have to get a second and vote.
Yep.
Sorry?
I second.
Yes.
Run.
Okay.
So we have a motion from Councilor Angelini, seconded by Councilor Felicia. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Okay, on to, again, item 9, new business discussion and action. Item A, municipal master agreement for construction projects with CTDOT. Roy, do you want to apprise us of that?
Yeah, so this is a standard agreement that the Connecticut Department of Transportation has with all municipalities for any projects that they do on state roads. They are modifying that agreement, but but it expires, so they're asking for essentially a one-year extension while they work on that, with a few minor amendments that are not consequential.
Has Brian looked at this?
Yeah, we've reviewed this, and there's no reason you should not approve this amendment to the municipal master agreement for construction.
So essentially just extending it by 1 year and by recommendation of the town attorney. So we'd have to, is there, if someone's gonna, a motion for this? for approval?
There's one in here.
Yeah, I believe it's in the packet.
I'd like to make a motion that the North Branford Town Council authorizes Michael P. Downs, Town Manager, to sign the amendment entitled Amendment Number 1 to the Master Municipal Agreement for Construction Projects.
Okay, motion by Councilor Angeloni. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. All right, on to item B, resolution regarding amending a resolution appropriating $5,650,000 for the acquisition and installation of an emergency communications radio system within the town and authorizing the issuance of a $5,650,000 bond of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. It's a mouthful. Okay. I do believe we're gonna have some conversation about this amongst the council. If someone would like to.
I'll make the motion first.
Please, thank you.
Okay.
All right, motion by Councilor Angeloni.
Well, I have to read it.
Wait,
The town attorney just gave
Yeah,
me.
so utilize the
Well,
language town attorney gave you, please.
Yeah, okay. So I'd like to make a motion. I move that the resolution set forth in the agenda packet amending a resolution appropriating $5,650,000 for the acquisition and installation of an emergency communications radio system within the town and authorizing the issuance of $5,650,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose be approved.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by?
Second.
By Mayor Zampano, Deputy Mayor Zampano. Is there any discussion?
So I just want to just give a little background. So this came up it was on Finance Committee last week. So at the June 6th meeting, the Permanent Project Building Committee came before the council and asked if we would consider increasing the bond resolution for the police department, which is now 16.2 million. And they asked that it be increased by 1.2 million to 17,400,000. So the finance director was working with the bond council on a possible amendment resolution to do that. Finance committee discussed it, and we do not, from the flavor of that meeting, the council is not in favor of increasing the bond resolution for the police department. So Mayor McMillan, Deputy Mayor Zampano is on the Finance Committee along with myself, and then Councilor Diamond and Councilor Policio attended just to hear the conversation. Also at that meeting was the Finance Director and the Purchasing Director, Michael Fumiati. So in connection, all of us started talking about this and kind of came up with a possible solution without increasing bonding is it possible to move money from the police department budget, the new police department budget, dealing with communications and technology over to what was bonded for the communications, the $5.65 million. So Anthony reached out to the bond council to see if it was possible, because we would have to amend the language to allow that to happen, because the original bonding agreement was very specific and it was tied into a report that was done for communications, and it was tied into that. So Anthony reached out to the bond council, and they said it was possible. They came back with proposed language, which is before us tonight, to include communication and technology that was delineated by the police department, specific items to be included in this, and it amounts to approximately $700,000. It's not a definite figure because they didn't buy the equipment yet. They're all estimated cost. They were asking for more than that, and the discussion that we had at finance was that we really felt strongly that it should just stick to communications and technology for the police department. And that's where we got the figure off of everything they submitted of approximately $700,000. So that's what that's what this change in the language would do, is allow us, the Permanent Project Building Committee, to take $700,000 approximately cost that's in the project and move it over to communications. It would not increase the bonding on either project. The authorized to bond amount would stay the same for both projects. We're just moving costs from one to another. So that's the premise for this.
Okay. Thank you for outlining that, Rose, I appreciate it. Is there anyone that'd like to speak on or discussion on this?
We're just not kicking the can down the road, right? We're not kicking the can down the road
As far as
for the 700,000?
meaning,
Yeah.
Well, we are.
Yeah,
What happens down the road when we need to 700,000?
well, in the budget for the communications, so when we authorized to bond the 5.650, after that, about 6 to 9 months after that, we received a grant, a federal grant, through Blumenthal's office for $750,000. That money, it was very specific, that grant, and it was for Motorola expenses paid to going to be paid to Motorola for the towers. So in the costs that have already been paid for communications, that $750,000 to Motorola was included in those costs, which we can now subtract because we used the grant money. So that frees up $750,000. This is about $700,000 that the police department is looking for. And then there are other items in the communication budget. Marie just talked about the $73,000. It was change order number 2 for them, that for $73,000, which they no longer have to pay that money. So that's 73. They had $80,000 in there for anticipated change orders. The police chief, police commission feel that there is definitely more than enough money in the communications budget, that 5.6, to complete the project, and we should have money left over.
I just wanted to get that on record because I know you told me.
So that's why this came over.
We just have to make the tower a little shorter if we need more.
Yeah, we'll just cut off 50 feet.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. I think we all feel that we don't have the appetite to continue spending hard-earned money and of the townspeople here, and we want to stop the bleeding. I think there's been some confusion on behalf of how things have been presented and how the architects maybe have presented it to the Permanent Project Building Committee as well.
I have a question. So when we do a project, when we approve a project to be done, whatever the dollar value is, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, 60 million, who owns the responsibility of that project?
Well, I think ultimately we do. We're the authorizers.
Yeah, but we own the responsibility
On the
to
decision.
Yay or nay.
Correct.
But now that we said yay on a budget, on a dollar value, who owns that?
We do.
Huh?
We do. We're the fiduciaries.
Well,
No.
but we're not running the project.
Right, who owns the spending on that?
Technically, it should be done, that's why you have, a clerk of the works to maintain the budget, and you have a building committee to approve the spending. So I believe, and Marie, you can certainly interject if I have this wrong, or Brian likewise. I believe that the process that we've set up, and whether or not we need to revisit this, is that there's the committee, the Permanent Projects Building Committee, that will oversee the overall build of this and constraints within the budget. And then for anything outside of that, or any particular approval, they come to us for the yay or the nay.
Right, but here we present, we approve bonding for $16.2 million. And it's based on costs, certain costs, building costs,
Based on a
site
project
work.
plan.
Right, the whole project, exactly, the whole
Project plan,
project plan. So who's responsible, who's accountable to manage that project plan and make sure the money's being spent properly and in accordance to the budget in itself, the budget that they have to
So
maintain?
basically, like, who manages the controls
Exactly.
of the money?
Because that's important to know, because it's not on us. We make decisions based on what's presented to us.
I would think the architect has some responsibility for that.
Well, that's what is that something, Brian, you
Brian,
can
is that
answer?
something you can give us? I was gonna say the architect as well. They're gonna come up with the project plan, and ultimately they own the blueprint and what the project plan is derivative of.
Well, you have various people managing what you've delegated them to do. Ultimately, the buck stops with you. You are that ultimate authority where you've given instructions and powers to whether it's your building committee or the architect that you've hired. So they all have responsibilities. The architect has contractual responsibilities to the town, obviously. The building committee has, under their charge, when you gave them a charge for the building, they have to follow that. But ultimately, you are, it all trickles back up to you, arguably, at the end for the ultimate responsibility. But you've delegated that as you should. You're not, you have finance folks watching the requisitions when they come in, just to pay a bill. It's not just paid. The architect has to sign off on it, as you know, and make sure it's part of the budget and
Correct.
it's appropriate and the work was done. So you're trusting him or her with that responsibility before a bill is paid and keeping it to budget and letting you know if it's not. Otherwise, he or she would be in breach of their contract with you, which you hired them to do. You may have clerk of the works in some projects. You may have project managers that you've hired. These are all professionals in those cases that you've entrusted to do certain things and hired to do certain things.
Basically, who asked us for the money and who did we give it to? Put it simply like that. Who asked us for the money, we granted the money, and who do we give it to?
Well, again, we delegate the responsibility of how that money is spent, essentially, to.
Well, we're not running the job, we're not.
Correct,
we're
to
not
the
delegating
Permanent
it.
Project Building Committee, and they have contractually brought on the architect and clerk of the works and those, those service providers. So it's a little bit of a.
Anthony, how would you answer this question?
I'm reading the code of ordinances as we speak. It says, "The Permanent Project Building Committee shall be responsible for overseeing the construction of said project and shall give the town manager status reports on the project on a regular basis. The town manager shall keep the town council advised. The committee makes recommendations to the council on any phase of the said project."
So the Permanent Project Building Committees, right?
And the town manager, of course.
So you're asking who writes the checks?
But financially,
the town writes
who
it.
manages the
Who's
controls
responsible?
on the money to make sure
Who
that,
asked for it, who's getting
Well,
it?
like what's that process?
One person to talk at a time. Sorry, guys.
Building committee, every bill that's
Sorry.
paid has to get blessed by the building committee. The chairman signs off, the purchasing agent signs off, the manager signs off, before it comes to finance.
Okay,
So I would say that's your key.
so there's three levels before it gets to finance.
Correct.
And actually, even the architect before that, if you have an architect that has to sign off before it even gets to the building committee with his recommendation.
And what responsibility does the builder have? Now, we awarded Newfield a building project that he bid on $12.1 million, I think it was. So what responsibility does he have?
Well, he has the responsibility to construct the building in accordance with the plans and specifications that the architect prepared up to a certain standard as specified by the architect, and what you told him to build, what you told them to build, they have to build.
And that's why change orders come into place, because things happen that go outside scope of the original scope, I should say. And they have to be approved by the building committee and then sometimes approved by us if they're coming out of contingency.
Yeah, plans are typically very elaborate for, you know, if you've seen them for projects, as you know.
That's where, you know, I start having some issues because I've reviewed all the meetings that we've had on this. I reviewed the videos, I reviewed the minutes, and, you know, all the, you know, different iterations we've had of it, you know, from 7.5 million to 8 something to 10 something to 12 something to 13 to 16 and you know and comments being made and in the minutes, we're only going to spend 10.5 of the town's money.
Right.
So
We're getting $5.5
when,
million
you know,
back.
whether we're moving it from this shell to this shell, we're still spending more money. And I personally, I get concerned in that because we are the guardians of the taxpayer.
I agree.
And that's why we need to be sure who's responsible for what, and, you know, because we know we need these projects, otherwise we wouldn't be doing them. But again, we need to make sure that we're solid on you know, what our expectations are. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why in finance, and of course amongst conversations within that committee, we felt that there's, you know, the buck has to stop someplace, and we couldn't increase the bond, and because it just tends to continue to bleed. And it's not that we don't support the police department by any stretch of imagination.
Right.
We support them, you know, thoroughly, but we also have to be prudent with the town's money and be the fiduciaries that we've been charged to be. And you have to manage the projects. So I guess the compromise that we as the committee had come up with, and I believe Ron joined us that day as well, so he was apprised of this, of course, you know, as well as Marie, that we would look towards kind of a reshuffling of something that has already been appropriated. I know you and I both share the tenet that just because you can doesn't mean you should, and that we've appropriated X amount of dollars for bonding doesn't necessarily mean that we should spend up to that amount. It's like, you know.
I think we all are in agreement with that also.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Right.
But I think I had to bring that concern up because I spent, you know, a lot of time reviewing all the last meetings throughout the last 2 years, and it's pretty, you know, starts to be alarming actually a little bit.
So, and that's why it's not on the agenda to increase the bond. I think we all believed it was inappropriate.
I think part of the problem too is that it said TBA next to FF&E, okay? I don't know how an architect let that happen. I really feel that the architect is responsible for some of this. I really do.
Yes, I think that, I agree with you. I tend to agree.
I think you guys did a great job in the finance committee, and I agree with the sentiments that, you know, we have spending fatigue. And I'm glad we didn't increase the bond, and although I do think that this was a good compromise, given the situation and the need that was presented to us, so.
We could spend nothing, we could bales of hay, so, but I don't, they don't want to do. I'm kidding,
We
obviously.
are a farm town.
Oh, yeah, we are. Ag culture, ag tourism, probably be interested.
Cut the stumps.
But no, we want to see this built right, but yeah, there is a point in time where it gets to be egregious, and we want the projects to get done right, but we also want to be smart about it. Any other discussion that anyone would like to bring up? I'm just making sure. I haven't heard you talk today, Mr. Mason. I was a little concerned, just for a moment there.
I'm just wondering when you're getting to vote.
Well, we're making sure that we have, you know.
Can we do a roll call?
Yeah, we're more than happy. Reverse the roll call, please, on this, and do a roll call vote for this, please. As long as there's no one else within discussion. Any further discussion?
What's the motion? The motion saying just broadening the
communications.
It's just, broaden the scope so that we're able to share the money, basically.
But in in our packet on page 16, it does reference under section 1, it does name specific vendors, like the Next Gen, Crown Castle Fiber, security infrastructures such as CCTV and card key access. They were specific items that were on the list that they submitted to us, but they made it broad enough so that they can include some other things relating to communication or technology. Like I said, they were asking for way more than this, but we narrowed it down just to communication and technology.
Is that us creating that, or is that the bond council creating?
The bond council created this language.
And there's a requirement for that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, because we have to, the bond resolution, we can only spend the money the way that it's stated in there. So originally, this communications bond resolution covered the report that Paul Zito did for the communications committee, and that's what it referenced. It was to purchase the items in that report. So that's why we couldn't just automatically transfer it over. We had to do language revision on it so that we could include these things.
And to back up what Rose was saying, there's some things that they presented to us that just don't fit that category, and we're not including those.
Right.
That's correct. Okay, any other discussion? All right, we'll take this to a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Mayor McMillan.
I'm gonna go last.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Zampiano.
No.
Counselor Abelson.
No.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Gold.
No.
Counselor Mace.
Yes.
Counselor Palladino.
Yes.
Counselor Palicia.
Yes.
Back to Mayor McMillan.
Yes.
Six yes. So the motion passes.
I
Okay.
have a question. I would really appreciate if somebody,
Is it about this?
yeah,
Okay, we're past discussion.
no, not the motion, no.
Okay, go ahead.
As the chairperson running Robert's Rules of Order, I would appreciate it, like Tom gave a really eloquent speech. He never said if he was for it or against it. I assumed he was for it, but he was only asking questions for a point of information. To me, it makes a difference when somebody says, I'm for the motion or I'm against the motion and here's why. Because it could persuade me to either vote one way or the other. And I thought Tom was for the motion, but was only questioning why we were doing it. I would just wish then somebody says, I'm for the motion or against it would help me.
I think you can do that if you're in discussion, if you desire to, but you're not required to do that. But it's certainly a point of order that you can, bring to the attention of those who are speaking. I appreciate that. Okay, moving on. Okay, item C, Public Works Job Description and Modifications. We're gonna do all these in one? That's because we just have it bullet pointed here.
Well,
Can we do them all in one?
if you want.
You can, yes.
Yeah, because it doesn't have items. So we'll do these, and then of course, we have some stuff added on at the end. But let's do at least the initial Public Works Job Description Modifications for Laborer 2, Grounds Maintainer, Groundskeeper, Grounds Leadsman, Highway 1, Highway 2, Highway Leadman, Arborist, and Maintenance.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the, all of the job descriptions, modifications that the mayor just listed.
Okay. All right, motion by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Abelson. Any discussion?
Yes, I have one point.
Please.
And it's just, So just to keep them all consistent, under the category supervision received, it always refers to the director, the assistant director, or their designee, that part or their designee is in all of the job descriptions, because some of them it was not. So some of them it's in and some it's not. So I assume, Franny, that you would like that in there, or their designee? Okay, so just to make sure that that is consistent in all of the job descriptions.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Okay, on to item D, financial report 5/31/2023. Anthony.
Okay, so the report in front of you for the May 31 period, comparing last year to this year. Again, the top line property taxes that we typically focus on this year is exceeding last year still. 100% of the budgeted number, again, which isn't the true receivable number because there's pluses and minuses throughout the entire year. But it is 100.6% compared to 99.3% last year. The rest of the revenue, it does show under, but again, it's just a matter of some timing issues with the way the new revenue budgets are. Nothing to be overly concerned with. On the expense side of the house, the same departments that have been expended for many months now. As we get to the end of the year, we'll start taking care of some of these overages and move money between departments where there happens to be any surpluses and resolve some of these issues. Mayor and council, technology, zoning board of appeals, emergency management, again, for reasons I delineated previously, the elderly housing and the haz waste. Again, the overall expenses, less than 1% higher than we were last year at this time, 86.1 compared to 85.3. Nothing overly to be concerned with at this time. All things looking like another healthy year in the black for the town of North Branford. Unremarkable.
There it is. There's that word.
Unremarkable. Okay, thank you. All right, and then on to item F, approval of tax refund.
Before I go to that, for Councilor Angeloni, I do have the information.
I did it again. See, I crossed it off too quickly. E, appropriation transfers. Thank you.
I also have the information that Councilor Angeloni referenced before regarding the townwide building maintenance fund. As of today, the balance in that fund is $35,110.76. This year, $50,000 went in, and so far to date, we spent $55,067.80.
Yeah, I think we wanted to see what that was spent on.
I could certainly get that for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the appropriation transfers you have in front of you, the bottom of the page are just for the budgetary purposes. Again, you budget things like the ambulance subsidy in the ambulance department to show it, and then operating transfer it out to the ambulance fund. Same with the self-insurance deductible, $25,000 gets budgeted in the insurance department and then moved out to the reserve fund. Top of the page, the department transfers, the largest one that jumps out at you is in the library, the $22,900 to data processing. And as the director explained to the finance committee, there's a huge movement in doing things in a more digitized fashion, and some services that you previously had to pay for at your house, like an Ancestry.com, they now have that available at the library. So things that, again, we're trying to get more computerized and digitizing things, that's where that money is going, to that data processing line. No other comments about the transfers. They're all pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the appropriation transfers.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Okay. Now we have to do F, tax refunds. Yes, I checked it off prematurely.
These are mine.
All right, so item F, approval of tax refunds.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilor Diamond, seconded by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Okay.
Do we need, I see, because now I see there's sewer overpayments. Do we need to approve those separately, or are they all together in tax refunds?
All together.
Okay.
Okay. All right, item G, approval of RFP specification, RFP number 924003, certified EMT and licensed paramedic ambulance personnel. We're going to move this into after the executive session. So that's indicative of executive session. So we're going to move past G for now, go on to item H on the 9H account clerk 1 job description modification. And we were all apprised to what this was and have the descriptions thereof. There is a proposed motion. Should someone like to make it?
I make a motion to approve the job modifications for account clerk 1.
Okay. Second. Motion by Councilor Angeli, seconded by, okay, thank you, Councilor Abelson. Any discussion?
I just have one question in regards to keeping consistency under supervision received. Anthony, do you want to add in there or their designee when you talk about staff accountant, treasurer, finance director? As we
certainly could.
I mean, I just,
Sure.
So add
or their designee.
their designate.
Okay. Rose, would you like to read the description really quickly so we can have it on record, being that this wasn't part of the original packet?
Well, this is the whole
Yeah.
description. You
Oh,
want
no,
to
no, I
write the
thought we
whole
were just going here.
description on it?
No. You know, don't worry about it. No, I can do 3 pages worth.
Girl Scout. I will if you want.
No, I meant the summary, but.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I meant the summary.
okay.
We're good.
So it says here, okay, as we found out earlier, that Patty Schaefer has announced her retirement in August. And before they fill the position, they are looking at the job description to see if there's any changes. So the resulting changes are basic. They will follow for cross-training of the 2 account clerk 1s in finance and update some outdated language. The union has reviewed them and confirmed that they have no issue with the modifications. Approving the modifications tonight will allow us to hopefully fill the position prior to Patty's departure. Waiting until July would create a gap that could be detrimental to the operations of the finance department as they transition to a new fiscal year and implement
Thanks. Okay, so just an understanding as to why we put this on the agenda tonight and it wasn't previously on the agenda. It's timing issues as to when Patty's going to vacate the position. Okay, so we have motions on the table. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Thank you very much. All right, on to item 10, citizen statements and petitions. Do we have any? Anthony, do you see anything online?
Stand by. Negative.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are going to move into an executive session discussion concerning hiring of additional town employees, CGS 1-206A. In that particular meeting, or the executive session, we'll have the assistant town manager, our town attorney. Is there anyone else?
Yes, the fire, Anthony Esposito, the fire chief.
Fire chief Anthony Esposito.
Chairman Prunier and Commissioner Civitello.
All right, Chairman Prunier and Commissioner Civitello. I think they just left.
He just, one went out and the other one went to get him and bring him back in.
Okay, great, okay. Very good, okay.
It's what Prunier,
He's Eddie Prunier.
Ed Prunier, the chairman.
We'll get to this in a minute here.
And
Okay.
Commissioner Joseph Civitello.
All right, do we have folks? All right, we got a motion by,
So moved.
Second.
okay, motion by Councilor Angelini, seconded by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? All right, we are in executive session in a moment. We'll just let folks clear out.